Hey guys, my name's Gloria and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a booktube tag that was created by Marie McWilliams, just a couple hours up the road there, and it's called Dilemmas of a Book Nerd. She did this before Christmas, I think, and a lot of people were doing it. I watched a lot of videos on it, but I just wasn't in the headspace to do it when it came out. If anyone at all tagged me in it, I'm really sorry I missed that, but I figured why not do it now, because I actually saw the last one that I saw was Lydia from Typical Books, and hers was a fantastic video. I'll link both hers and Marie McWilliams down below. Hers was rather fascinating in some of her answers and quite in-depth as well, so you should definitely check out her video. So it is quite short. There are just 5 questions, so let's get into it. So the first question is, how can you watch that stuff? Is there something wrong with you? To answer the second question, how long have we got? Yes, there are many things wrong with me. I'm deficient in B12 to start, but yes, there are obviously things wrong with me. I think there are things wrong with 99% of people. Do they relate to why I watch horror? Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people I suffer from depression and anxiety, and I think a lot of people who, not everyone obviously, but a lot of people who deal with that type of thing, because there's more shadows in the mind, there's more insidious things, more negativity at times in your brain. You do tend to gravitate towards some darker things, darker movies, darker books and stuff, true crime as well. So for me, it does seem like quite a paradox. My boyfriend is always just confused by how many horrific documentaries and movies detailing terrible things that I sit and I binge watch all day long, and yet I'm scared to answer the phone. He's very confused by that, but he supports it, whatever. So yes, there is something wrong with me. How can I watch that stuff? I don't know, it doesn't scare me. I mean, obviously, I've always kind of been confused. My sister watches horror movies sometimes, and she'll spend the entire time hiding behind a cushion and screaming, and she just doesn't seem like she enjoys it. There are obviously bits of movies and certain things that do jolt me and scare me, but for the most part, when I'm watching something or reading a book in the moment, it doesn't scare me that much, so I watch it like any other movie. A lot of these seem to be about horror movies, but it goes the same for books as well. It's just I do it because I can. The next question is, doesn't it give you nightmares? No, not since I was a little kid. So I started watching horror movies very young. I think I saw The Exorcist when I was like 6. Way too young, but you know, I was gonna say it doesn't seem to have damaged me in any way. That's not true at all. But yeah, I did, there were a couple of things. So the ghost face from Scream used to freak me out. I used to have a couple of nightmares about him. Not necessarily nightmares, but just vivid imaginings bordering on hallucinations of him like running up the stairs at me. Both of the houses that I lived in when I was a kid, the first house I lived in where my dad was born was like a 150-year-old house, really long house, and our main bathroom was on one side, and directly on the opposite side of the house was the little toilet that my parents used, and in between was just this really long landing, like corridor, that was just always in complete darkness. And as a little kid, for some reason I never closed the doors, so I'd just be sitting there staring into complete darkness at this other dark room. And our next house was almost exactly the same. It was smaller, but there was still, again, if you were in one side, you could look straight across the other side of the house to another door, and so long corridors do freak me out. But I always used to think of Ghostface running at me from there. Don't know why, but giving me nightmares? No, I don't have nightmares about the horror movies I watch. My two most recurring nightmares are actually about like everyday sort of situations. Missing flights. I've repeatedly keep having nightmares where I'm going to miss a flight. Don't know why. I can't drive, but I keep having nightmares where I convince myself I can, and then I start driving and I don't know how to stop the vehicle, and inevitably get into a river or something, drive it into a river. Also, never having children, but I keep imagining that I find a child and no one else will take care of it in some sort of disaster situation, like a flood or an earthquake or something, and just because I have nieces and nephews and I know the basics of taking care of a baby, I have to take care of it then, even though I'm not qualified to do that at all. So that's what I have nightmares about. But you know, demons and ghosts and hauntings and serial killers, no, those are more daytime things, really. The next question is, why do you like being scared? This is a weird one. I was initially going to say that I don't like being scared. However, there's a couple of specific things that really freak me out, make my blood run cold, and just this. So it's really faces always kind of freak me out, but my boyfriend told me about, I'd never heard of the movie Camp Sleepaway, and he showed me a clip from the very end where the girl is standing there with her mouth open and she's frozen and she's making this like this horrible noise. And when I saw that clip, something about it just made my bones turn to jelly. I absolutely hated it. He also showed me a clip of I watched the whole movie and it was terrible. Can't remember. Naomi Watts is in it. It's by a very famous director with cool hair, but I can't remember who that is. I'll put the name of it here. Sunset Boulevard? Was it Sunset Boulevard? Maybe. But there's a part in that where a guy is walking. He tells about a dream that he had about this homeless person who jumps up out at him, and then he walks towards the place where this happened in his dream, and this horrible person, who's actually played by the woman who plays the nun as well in the Conjuring movies, just not even that quickly, but just sort of comes out from behind the wall and is all dirty and horrible, and that just almost had me on the floor. And recently I've seen a TikTok that's gotten quite famous of just a girl pretending to talk about her dog who's in the closet behind her, and then the camera pans and it's this horrific white face that is very like the face from The Exorcist that sort of flashes up sometimes. And those things scared me, like really scared me, but I keep going back to those videos. I have the TikTok saved in my favorites because I keep wanting to feel that horrible feeling again. I'm not sure why, and I keep going back to those little clips of Camp Sleepaway and that movie as well, and I don't know what it is. It's such a weird visceral feeling, and I think because I know that ultimately they're safe, that they're just videos, they're fictional things, that I'm okay going back to them. They're obviously real things of real things that have happened to people that also give me the same feeling, but because they're very real and they've happened to real people, I don't want anything to do with those. So it is strange. I think I've talked about this on stage as well, that a lot of people are always, a lot of people who know me and know how anxious I am in daily life are always surprised that I voluntarily, frequently before all this, get up on stage and perform in front of people. Most people who don't have anxiety think that that is terrifying. That's like the scariest thing that you can do. But for me, when you have really bad generalized anxiety, you're at a constant level of some kind of fear. You're pretty much scared all the time of everything, of meeting new people, having to interact with people, walking into shops, answering phones, getting on buses, just all of this it's got some level of fear to it. And I definitely do not enjoy that, but I think with movies and stuff, it's just, it's always like a fictional fear. It is. I think the studies on why people like horror and the psychology of horror always talk about the fact that it's a way for our brains to kind of explore violence and explore taboo subjects like cannibalism and stuff, or just explore dark, horrible situations in a safe environment. You know, like roller coasters. You get on it. It is scary. It seems like you could possibly die, but statistically, at least, you know that you're safe. So for movies, I don't like being scared, but I like exploring darker things. And the next question is, aren't horror movies and books all the same? No. Next question. Why don't you watch something nice and cheerful? I do. I watch way too many movies to be healthy, to be honest. But I watch all kinds of movies. I watch comedies, action movies. The movies I watched recently with my housemate and my boyfriend have been the two old Bill and Ted movies. We tried watching scary movies, the couple of those. They haven't aged well. Wouldn't recommend going back to those. We've also been we watched all the Lord of the Rings. We watched John Wick. Huge fan of the Jason Bourne movies. I watch a lot of comedies, a lot of dramas, a lot of biopics. I'll pretty much watch anything that's interesting. Recently watched a movie called The Master with Joaquin Phoenix, which is not about Scientology. That was quite good. So I'll watch lots of things. I mean, to find a movie that's entirely nice and cheerful. I mean, I watch animated films. I watch Disney movies. Not a huge fan of romance, but there are a few romance movies that I do like, and I will re-watch from time to time. But I think if by this question someone meant why don't you stop watching horror movies entirely and only watch nice and cheerful things, I think I would lose my goddamn mind, because it's just not an accurate reflection of the world for me. Yeah, there's dark stuff out there. Even in the you can do an analysis of a lot of cheerful movies. Wizard of Oz is one of them, where there's a real insidiousness to it. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, that's terrifying, but it's apparently a happy, cheery movie. So yeah, it just wasn't, I'd go mad, I think. I'd end up being my own horror movie, possibly. But yeah, if there's people out there who only want to watch happy things, have at it. The world is a shitty place a lot of the time, so do whatever you can to keep yourself sane. But for me, horror keeps me sane, so that is that. So thank you so much to Marie McWilliams for coming up with all these questions and this tag. Thank you so much for watching and joining me for this video. If you like what I'm doing, you can like and subscribe down below, and I shall see you in the next video.